Welcome ladies and gentlemen to today's World of Tanks console video where we check out how you can win in situations which you genuinely didn't think that you can do, and this one is going to be a really good video to kind of showcase how you can win games where you genuinely halfway through think that you're probably going to lose. And so the aim of this one is to showcase some of the positions that you want to be taking on the maps, as well as your thought process to make you win more within World of Tanks. So, first gameplay, obviously we are on Westfield in the AMX 30. This is not the fully upgraded tank, I don't believe at this point, although I think since this video we have fully upgraded. But what are the key things about the AMX 30? Well, it is the view range of the tank that this thing has when you put on coated optics, so that's the strength of the tank. You're going to want to be playing it like an initial scout, so you can play and get some early kind of assistance damage, and having the pretty decent accuracy of these French mediums to be able to dish out damage alongside. Now you notice that we've come up to this position at the start of the game. I always like to come up here for a little bit of initial assistance damage, and you can spot, and sometimes you can get a little bit of damage as you see us hit the Gorilla 15 there for a nice 300 damage roll, which makes me think I do actually have this tank fully upgraded. Anyway, with this position, obviously at the beginning of the game, you don't want to be poking over. The only reason I'm doing it now is because we know that there aren't there aren't loads of people on the enemy team trying to push up this flank, and so I can be a little bit more aggressive. When you actually come up here, as a standard rule of thumb, you just want to crest the ridge to begin with. That way you can spot tanks like we spotted the Gorilla at the beginning of this game, and then you can get some damage on them, or alternatively, if your teammates are hot on it, then you can get some assistance damage like we've managed to pick up here. 2023 assistance at the beginning of the game, only like 2 minutes in. That's a pretty decent result. Now coming up into this position is a kind of defensible position. Yes, you did just see the artillery round come over, and it is a position that artillery do like to love. Well, they do love when you come up here because it is quite open. However, in this position what we can do is basically spot for our team, and we are playing more like a support class because that's what you have to do in the role of tank that you play dependent on what you're playing. So in the AMX 30 we are more of a support tank. We can't grind it out against some of the TDs that you might see unless we manage to get around them at the end of the game, and so yeah, you do have to play more passively, and you can see us doing that here, playing knowing that we can't get spotted through the bush because we're significantly far away from the bush when we're firing, which means that it's not going to affect our camo value by firing through the bush, which means we can get up another extra bit of damage without having the possibility of the Waffle E100 there spotting us and taking away all 1650 hit points of our tank within a couple of rounds. Anyway, 2000 damage, 900 assistance. It's a nice 2900 damage total already at the beginning of the game, and this is where making sure that you aren't too passive at the beginning is a key kind of crucial thing that you'll notice. Now obviously the M60, I don't know what he's doing here, but he's being too aggressive, pushing towards the majority of our teammates, and so that is only ever going to end up one way. And if he continued to push up, yes, we may have taken a little bit of extra damage, but he would have definitely not liked that, and a lot of his hit points would have been removed. Now obviously from this sort of position we did see rounds coming in, and that's where we kind of have to be a little bit, you know, think about what you're doing, because if you're seeing rounds come across your screen, that means that there's someone firing on the opposite side of the map, and so here we go. We can pick up a little bit of damage on this E50 as well as be able to spot. So if we're aiming in the direction at which the opponent is firing from, you know, even when they go invisible, I see a lot of comments in the comment section going, oh, these invisible tanks are taking me out, I don't know how, and it's like, well, if you look at the direction at which you're getting hit from, or the direction at which these tanks are actually firing from, then you'll get a good understanding of where you should be kind of avoiding a line of fire from them, or alternatively if you can just avoid their shot altogether. Obviously here we go, the M60 making a bit of an aggressive play towards our heavy tank there, which didn't really work out. Now in this game, we are losing. So it's 9-7, so it's not particularly the best result that you're going to see within World of Tanks. So what we've got to do is assess which is the best option for us to secure the victory, and considering I'm a support tank with no support, it's probably not the best idea that I'm over here completely alone and segregated, to the point where if, say, 3 or 4 of the enemy team suddenly appear out of nowhere, which they can do on World of Tanks if you're not getting vision into areas surrounding you, which we won't be able to do in that position, then yeah, we could get caught out and lose all of our hit points and do absolutely nothing else within this game. Obviously that's not what we're going to be doing within this matchup. We have noted that what we're going to do is move towards, and you can see that actually we're making a bit of a play over towards this area because we want to see if we can spot for our team over in this area. Now we're going to take a hard turn back into the town area, although we do take 2 meaty shots, and this is what I'm talking about. So yeah, I didn't have to take that play, and although I'm talking from a third person perspective where yeah, you get a little bit muddled, but if we be critical of my gameplay, which I am, that was not a good play. I shouldn't have really moved over there. The thought process behind it was to spot from my artillery. If they're making a slow advancement up this hill, it would be good to be able to spot them, and then maybe the artillery can help me out, because if I'm just on one hit, or if I'm just on my own against tanks that are closing in pretty quickly, I'm going to lose a lot of hit points. But obviously it didn't work out very well for us, but it does mean now for the rest of the gameplay we've got to play smart and play we can't just go in essentially and get damaged by circling people, because 455 hit points leaves us a one shot for the majority of the enemy team if they do have indeed over 450 alpha damage, obviously. But within this game, what we're going to be focusing on is trying to rack up as much assistance damage and help our teammate that way by trying not to get spotted and just try and get in opportunistic shots. Obviously one thing that you want to be doing in games on World of Tanks is to make sure that you're thinking about, well, what kind of information can I gather from scenarios when nobody is spotted? Well, I don't know if you saw it, the keen-eyed of you probably will have earlier, that you saw that the tree fell down. And trees are an amazing way to actually know where your opponents are, because although they might not think it's much of a big, well, not a big deal when they knock a tree down, it gives you some information. The direction at which the tree falls or falls down basically guides you as to whether or not they're moving left, whether they're moving right, or whether they're like turning around, etc. Obviously, players could be super smart and like do the double on you by pushing down a tree and then reversing out of the way of the tree to kind of say that you're going one way and then go the other, but not that many people use that tactic, and so you're probably better off using the information that you can see. Now obviously within this game we've got a medium tank that's pushing down on the left hand side, and so although he's been taken out by the T110E3, there is a Super Conqueror, and so now that we know that he is there, we're going to make a little bit of a swooping play. We spot the E50, who's swiftly taken out by a teammate, and then some extra spotting damage on the Object 752, who we also managed to spot, and already very quickly you can see us racking up assistance damage within this game. And now it's time, although the Super Conqueror is on full health and advancing over on the northern side of the map, if we can help out our team and secure a little bit of hit points on them to be able to really survive the rest of the battle, to help me out when we have to deal with the Super Conqueror, that's going to be super useful. And although you're seeing not necessarily the best gun performance by me here, it is showcasing kind of the things that you need to think about when pushing forward and trying to help out your team. And also you need to think about what tank classes your team are the last ones left alive. So we've got a Death Star and we've also got the Waffle E100. Now with those two tanks you need to make sure that they aren't getting flanked whilst on their reloads, because of course if you act as kind of a buffer to stop opponents from just taking a couple of hits from them and then when they're on their reload just fully ambushing them, then that's going to be really helpful to be able to avoid your teammates losing all of their hit points. Obviously the FE215B gets taken out. I'm very conscious that the Super Conqueror that was down on the other side is now going to be advancing. That's not the case, which is good, but what we do need to do now is just maintain some sort of visibility over on this side of the map to see if anyone is advancing across the field, or alternatively if someone is then advancing through the town area. And you can see here the Super Conqueror there looking very, very nasty on those amount of hit points, and so yeah, we'll just spot him for artillery and hope that our teammate in that artillery can hit him and get us some assistance damage. And there we go, of course we do. This is always something that you want to do. Yes, I could poke this, and yes, I could potentially get one shot of damage, but what happens if he swings his turret around? What happens if he manages to get that last hit on me and takes me out of the game? What if he high rolls, etc.? These are all things that you need to take into account when actually deciding what you're going to do with your strategy, because although in the short term, yes, I could get another shot of damage, is it really worth it, and will it end up negatively impacting the rest of my game? Now 3,647 assistance damage and 2,358 damage are not awful, and by no means have we played the stellar round yet within World of Tanks in this tank where everything goes exactly right. We've made a few misplays, and I'm human, as I'm sure many of you are. You're going to make mistakes, I'm going to make mistakes, and very rarely do you have games where you make absolutely zero mistakes. There are often, even the best players in the world, which I'm not a part of, but they also make mistakes. There's plenty of them. And yet again, talking about mistakes, I should have fully aimed. There's no reason I didn't actually aim fully on the E4, and we do get a little bit unlucky there, to be fair, on the side armour of the E4 trying to hit him. Obviously, from this point, we're just keeping him lit for artillery. The E4 has to do something. He has to either go for the artillery or he has to go for me, and whichever one he does, he's going to open himself up to a bit of a sausage sandwich, as we like to always say. Obviously, I've taken a little bit of movement away, and now he's facing our artillery down there from what you can see from the outline, but it doesn't matter because the Batchat 15558 manages to take him out for our other artillery. Obviously from this point we've got one tank destroyer left and the one artillery on the enemy team to take out, and with nearly 6k combined damage we're having a pretty decent game. 455 damage left on our tank, or hit points of our tank left, means that we are a one shot for, well, both of them. If the artillery hits us direct or even misses us, we'll probably lose that 455, and if the E3 even gets a whiff of anywhere on our tanks, that is basically us out of the game. And so we need to be very careful in our approach, hence why we're going down through the bushes here, try and just make a little sweeping pass. We can then move back into the town area if we don't spot anyone, and luckily we do spot the E3 here. We're going to now disengage from our kind of visibility to be able to get as far away as possible and get behind some of these bushes so that we don't get spotted. Keep him spotted, however, and also just try and get a couple of shots. Obviously, knowing that he's gone side on, if we can manage to get the track here, then that's going to be beneficial. Obviously, try and keep yourself away by putting yourself behind a lot of the bushes is going to help as well. And yeah, very easily picked up that last kill on the E3 there. The Batchat 58 really helping us out in this game, and he really was hitting pretty much all of his shots there. No skill, just cash. Thank you very much. But here we go, 5,202 assistance damage, nearly 3,000 damage. And yes, I'm sure many of you have had over 3,000 damage in a tier 9 medium. It's not particularly the most difficult thing to have within the game, but this showcases how you can boost up that damage total, and I'm sure the mark percentage from this game would have gone up dramatically, because 5,000 assistance damage plus the actual damage that we did is really, really good. And although we don't manage to get any of the final damage within the game, we do get another bit of assistance damage and manage to help out our team. And although we were kind of losing that game, and if we didn't play correctly and spot for our team, we could have quite easily lost that game against the E3, because the Waffle probably wouldn't have the view range to outspot the E3 in a bush. So yeah, there's always that. Obviously, no skill, just cash, 7,200 damage. So thank you very much for all of the assistance within that game. Although it was with a 3 marked Batchat 58. Ooh. Anyway, Patrol Duty Medal, of course, and 8,500 plus damage combined. A really good result and a way to showcase to you guys how you can win even when you feel like you're going to lose. Hopefully you enjoyed this little gameplay review of this battle, and I hope you join me back for some of the other gameplay videos on the screen right now. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.